So, motivation is important throughout life, but especially for teachers. You can't force a student to learn, but you can help make them want to learn. Like the old saying goes, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. But you can give it lots of salt so it's thirsty. And that's exactly what extrinsic motivation is. Isn't that right, Whitney?
That is right.
There are two types of motivation, and here's past Whitney to tell you more about those.
Extrinsic motivation happens outside of the self. There are many types of extrinsic motivation built into our school systems already. For instance, grades and punishments and rewards to those who are honor students. Many times, extrinsic motivations aren't necessary to add to your classroom because they're already built into the school. It's our goal to make students more intrinsically motivated. However, extrinsic motivations can be very useful if you have a student who's not responding to the normal extrinsic motivations. It's all about getting to know what extrinsic motivations motivate your students. And if your school isn't extrinsically motivating your students correctly, then you should be able to adapt to support them. Intrinsic motivation happens inside the individual. Rather than looking for a reward for their actions, they are rewarded within themselves. For instance, some people get a lot of pleasure out of doing math problems, and so they will do them. Often, intrinsic motivation can be used in conjunction with extrinsic motivation. For instance, a student might do well on a project in order to get a good grade, but really, it's because they enjoy doing the project and because they get internal motivation out of it that they will do well. So it's not that intrinsic motivation is inherently better than extrinsic motivation. Adults are extrinsically motivated all the time to go to work, to get money, to support their children, and things like that. So it's not that we want to be solely intrinsically motivated. It's just that as our children grow older, it is more important that we let them learn how to intrinsically motivate themselves.
Most students will be motivated to learn through extrinsic motivation. However, we have some special cases in which we have students which simply refuse to learn.
Right, and as we've been learning this semester, Herbert Cole did a lot of studying on these not learners.
So what exactly is a not learner, Katie?
Well, that's a really good question, Whitney. Luckily and unluckily, I was able to live with one growing up. My brother is considered a not learner, or as our mother often put it, he had a lack of want to. He didn't want to learn, so he refused to. A lot of times we would use external motivations in our household to get Jesse to want to do the work that he was going to do. A lot of that had to do with like Xbox time or time to go to the movies or hang out with friends. And eventually all of that worked, and my brother eventually graduated high school, which was the ultimate goal.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
You know, we also encountered some motivation issues with our student that we met at Henderson Ward Stewart.
That's true. This semester we got the opportunity to mentor a student named Tucker.
Yes.
And he was really delightful. His issue was, again, not learning. So what we did, well, at least personally what I did, was Tucker and I got into a conversation once where he was telling me that, he was kind of a kinesthetic learner and he liked to touch things and play with things. So what I would do is if he would finish all of his journals by the time that we were done with our 1-hour session, we'd get to play a couple games of Connect 4.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. And, well, what I found with Tucker was that although I brought all these great things that we could do after, what really made him want to do his journals was the fact that I was sitting there listening to him write, because he would open up to me through these journals, and I'm pretty sure he felt like his teacher wasn't reading or caring about what he was writing.
And as we discussed, a lot of what motivates your students is the relationship that you build with them. We also got an opportunity to meet with the principal over at Henderson Ward Stewart, and he gave us a little bit of advice, and his advice is actually backed up by Gloria Ladson-Billings' book, The Dream Keepers.
Indeed it is. In that book, Ladson-Billings claims that effective teaching involves in-depth knowledge of both the students and the subject matter.
And that's right, and that's exactly what Mr. Bourne told us. On our first day at Henderson Ward Stewart, he told us that no effective teaching happens without an effective relationship. And it's really important that for us as teachers, we build those relationships with our students both in and out of school.
Yes. Right. So a lot of times the best way to motivate your students is simply to build a relationship with them and to know more about them.
That's exactly true, Whitney. Just make sure you're there for them. Go to their soccer games, go to the football games with a big sign in the audience, and maybe they'll make an A on that test for you. We hope you enjoyed this brief introduction to motivation. The next video in our web series will be on curriculum design, so if you'd like to click here on my face apparently, to go to that video, we'll see you over there.